Kevin Rudden to make his presentation. Dear Kevin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Kostas for his kind words this morning and Spyros for his gracious introduction. I'm delighted to participate in this conference today, and I'd like to thank HLESCO for its contribution to EFCA, to its various committees over the last number of years, and for representing so well the Greek industry on a European forum. The convergence of three different digital accelerators, computer power, bandwidth, and digital storage, now makes possible what previously was not possible. To be successful nowadays, we can't imitate the past. It's more worthwhile to innovate and to concentrate our efforts on achieving what our competitors are not doing. We can't all do the same thing. We need to find some white space for the services that we provide. In this, the second annual EFCA Future Trends booklet, we further explore the trends that will disrupt the global architectural and engineering industry. It's irrelevant whether we, as a federation, support, agree, or encourage these trends. They're going to happen anyway. The only constant is change, and the rate of that change is increasingly uncontrollable. Our goal is to expose the European industry to the possibilities and opportunities that now exist, and more importantly, the consequences of ignoring those opportunities. We challenge the industry to have the courage to transform itself, to abandon preconceived notions and frameworks, to embrace new models, and to try new experiences that would allow us to truly evolve as an industry and society. The transformation won't be easy. There will be plenty of problems along the way as we try to reconcile these future trends with the regulatory and liability precedents that have constrained us over the last number of years, but which have also protected us over the last number of years. Shattering the status quo is always disruptive. I'd like to thank the team that have put together this Future Trends booklet. It's been led by Maurizio Boy, Vice President of EFCA, who is a consulting engineer and a futurologist. And our team included Jan van der Putten, who will be speaking to you in a couple of minutes' time. We looked at 6 different areas of future trends, and I could really speak for a day on this document. So this morning I'm just going to give you a quick overview. We're all familiar with the phrase that a picture tells 1,000 words. I came across this quote recently: if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then the video has to be worth at least 1.8 million words. I don't know how mathematically correct it is, but it sounds good. You will note this YouTube logo. It appears all the way throughout our Future Trends booklet. The idea is you click on each chapter and there's a short video that gives you a brief introduction if you're if you don't have time to read through it or you just want to be inspired. How can we teach our engineering students to adopt principles that don't exist yet? To use technology that hasn't even been invented? Simple answer is we can't. But what we can do is give them anticipatory skills so that they can recognize and exploit and capitalize on these opportunities as they come along. Likewise, we need alternative strategies for our companies based on anticipation to recognize and interpret the foreseeable future trends. We need anticipatory organizations. The first concept we're going to look at is agile management. Agile management is about working smarter rather than working harder. It's about doing more work in less time. It's about generating more value from less work. It's idyllic, isn't it? I don't think anybody could possibly object to that notion. The current world that we have around us, as Nelson has mentioned earlier on, it's unpredictable. It's unprecedented. It's disorderly. It's uncertain. All you have to do is look at the news over the last couple of days. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have predicted what you would have seen in the news in relation to Trump, in relation to Johnson. Our companies, however, and bureaucracy typically is predictable. It's orderly. It's cautious. So those models of companies can no longer exist in an uncertain world. And that's the reason that we need to go for agile companies. We need companies that are decentralized, that are spontaneous, that are informal, that rely on self-discipline. Agile practitioners share a mindset that work should, in principle, be done in small groups. Autonomous cross-functional teams, they work in short cycles, on small tasks with continuous feedback, typically the projects that we work on as consulting engineers. Agile practitioners are obsessed with delivering value to the customer. So in the digital era, it's necessary to drastically change how we consider firms and organizations. The firm can't be at the center anymore. The client must be at the center, and the firm works around the client. Agile practitioners view the organization as a fluid and transparent network of players that are collaborating towards a common goal of delighting customers. It's a nice expression, delighting customers. Decisions have to be based on who is best placed to make decisions and not on the formal structural hierarchy that might exist. It's all about creating value for the customer rather than extracting value from the customer. So, why is the engineering industry so suited to agile management? It's really because we operate in uncertain ecosystems. The main purpose of our companies is to design projects where we put together a team to focus on that project. So it's totally suited to the law of the small team. Every project we have needs to satisfy a client. So in other words, to apply the law of the customer. And the success of a project depends on the ability to manage integrated information and in essence to apply the law of the network. Economics is something that's impacting in our industry. Originally, a wiki is a software that allows a large number of people to edit a document on the internet. But it's now become a metaphor for collaboration. Economics is the practice and theory of collaboration. So essentially, it's become the economics of collaboration. There's 5 basic principles in economics as identified by Trapscott. The first one is openness. Openness encourages transparency. That fosters trust and facilitates innovation. Collaboration. Collaboration turns our social networks into social units of production for us. Sharing of common assets accelerates growth and innovation. And all the principles are underlined by integrity. If we don't have integrity, we don't have anything. And we are all interdependent. Goldcore is a company that has used Wikinomics. The CEO of Goldcore was exceptionally frustrated. He had a gold mine, but he couldn't produce gold. His geologist couldn't tell him if there was gold in the mine or if there was gold where it was. So he was about to shut down the company, and then he decided that he would introduce the Goldcorp Challenge. He offered €500,000 to anybody who could tell him if he had gold and if he did, where it was. He put all the geological information he had for his gold mine up on the internet for the world to see. He got 77 different entries using technologies he'd never even heard of, never mind considered. And his €500,000 of investment found €3.4 billion worth of gold. So it's mobilizing the ideas of the wider network and the wider industry. So Wikinomics is like a group of musicians who, rather than insisting on composing unpublished pieces, rearrange previous creations to produce a work of art. So essentially, it's a question of recomposing work that has been done by others. The previous speaker, Nelson, mentioned the FIDIC conference recently in Mexico. I was at it, and there was a speaker there, Stephen Baropst. Steve is the Chief Technology Officer for the Teradata Corporation, and he was also an advisor to Barack Obama on big data. He told us that every company in the world effectively fits into one of three sectors. The first sector is a company who considers itself to be a data company. The second one is a company who is going to become a data company. And the third option is a company that is going to be extinct. I was going to ask you for a show of hands to see which category you fit into, but I won't embarrass anybody. So we all know what happened to dinosaurs, so I don't need to say any more about that. Data is the new oil. We need to find it, we need to extract it, we need to refine it, we need to distribute it and manage it. 90% of the data that's out there is unstructured. We can only use structured data. So unlike physical assets, data doesn't get used up. It doesn't expire. It can be replicated and it can be used in multiple applications without diminishing its value. In fact, the more we use it, the more value it actually has. There's been more data created in the last 3 years than in the previous 40,000 years. And the amount of data in the world doubles every 2 years. So therefore, storage of that data becomes an increasing problem. So cloud has become an attractive economic solution. But as we know, the information is not held in the cloud. It's held on the ground somewhere in a data center. So where is that data center? If you have information stored on the cloud, can you actually point to the jurisdiction that data center is in? Is it safe? Who can see it? And more importantly, who can use it? Estonia have recently opened up the first data embassy in Luxembourg. First one in the world. I think this is a trend that we're going to see increasingly around the world. Data is the oil that fuels artificial intelligence. Whose data? Is it your data? Is it my data? We think it's safely stored in a data center somewhere, but does anyone have access to that? Artificial intelligence will accelerate project execution, offering a competitive advantage to firms who can exploit such an opportunity. It's not the solution to everything, but if you use artificial intelligence, your likelihood of success is increased. It's not an alternative to modeling a design using BIM, but it's something to complement that model. There's plenty of engineering companies around the world pioneering the use of artificial intelligence. All of the applications in use today are what the industry refers to narrow artificial intelligence. They're good at behaving intelligently when applied to a very well-defined area of expertise. However, the systems are miles away from general artificial intelligence, which inevitably is going to come very quickly. General artificial intelligence is a system that we can learn. It's a system that can learn and act intelligently across a wide range of environments and problems in a similar way to a person. The next concept I'm going to look at is digital dashboards. Think of them as a dashboard you have in your car. The purpose of the dashboard is to give you feedback of the critical functions of your vehicle and to avoid driving, allow you to change the way you're driving before catastrophe strikes. If you didn't have a dashboard in your car, how would you know that your fuel was running out? You'd only know when the car stopped. So successful construction companies and projects and consulting companies must have some sort of a useful dashboard that provides real-time information. You already have the information. The dashboard just displays it in a structured format where you can use the information that you have. Visualization is something that has really become popular in recent times. So as engineers and architects, we're really dreamers. We're capable of incorporating our dreams into our designs and turning those dreams into reality. Dreams live in a completely intangible world, a virtual reality that hasn't yet materialized and is distorted and intensified. As such, it's augmented compared to actual reality. We all know the difficulty we have in trying to explain to a client a particular problem. I do a lot of work in hospitals, and surgeons are notoriously difficult people to deal with, to understand the concepts of what's on drawings, to understand size and space relations. Augmented reality would assist them in that, and not wait until the operating theatre is constructed before they decide they need it half a metre bigger. IKEA had a problem that they looked at recently, where 14% of the returns were due to customers wrongly assessing the size of the furniture. So they came up with an augmented reality catalogue where you put the headset on and you can look in your own home and visualize what that sofa is going to look like in your living room. Will it fit? Are the colours right? And the purpose of doing that is to save restocking charges in IKEA. "3D printing has become very, very prevalent in the world recently. Technology is getting better, it's getting more stable. We've moved beyond the basic prototypes. The Winsun Corporation in China have pioneered the use of digital printing for houses. They're small houses, they're 200 square metre houses, but they're able to produce 10 houses a day, at a cost of €5,000 a house. They've also used the technology to build apartments and to build larger houses or villas by effectively producing smaller modular units and then putting them together. We have the same in Italy. Enrico Dini, who is an engineer whose background was in shoe design. And he went back to his roots in engineering to exploit 3D printing. And the top image there on the right-hand side is the first 3D printed bridge, which is in Spain. And he's pioneered the use of sand as the material for 3D printing. He's also carried out low-cost housing in Africa and is currently working on a project to rebuild a national monument in Syria that was destroyed by ISIS. So as we conclude, what should we do next? The most important thing is stay calm. Try to understand how to use and control the available technology. Communicate. Don't be afraid to share your ideas. If you share your ideas, people will build on your ideas and you will get more back. Consider sharing ideas as an investment in the future. Implement new management methods that ensure innovation and experimentation through fast feedback cycles with the end users. Learn how to organize information on a dashboard designed for each specific project. And learn how to implement cognitive collaboration. And by that we mean collaboration with computers. Understand and analyze future trends. And read the Future Trends booklet. It's available to download free of charge on the EFCA website. And keep an eye out for the next Future Trends booklet that will appear next May. Thank you very much.